in some cities in Africa of the population being upwards of 70% young, under the age of 30. So they're a critical demographic. If we really want to move things forward, we really want to engage in real development, we have to engage that population. But as well, we kind of call it a double-edged sword. On one hand, if you invest in young people, you invest in their education, you invest in their training, you engage them in governance, all those things that cities do. If you do that, you have your chances of developing properly, effectively, sustainably, on an economic and social level are much higher. If you don't, however, invest in them, you have the other side of the sword, which we've seen, which you have young people who get quite angry. They tend to rise up, where you see that young people, if they don't feel engaged, they find their own way of engaging, and it's not necessarily always good. There's many challenges faced, especially in Africa, and where I'm based in Kenya and sub-Saharan Africa. The challenges seem insurmountable, but if the community comes together, then you have the chance to collectively move forward is much greater. So I think you kind of have a clash. I think traditionally, over the many centuries that young people have been young in Africa, there's probably been a much more cohesive community. But over the history, colonialism and many things, it's kind of ripped people apart. And I think what we're trying to do now is reweave them together. And the cities are a place that can happen. The city, for example, coming out of Kenya, the post-election violence in 2007, there was there was tribal groups and everyone was clashing and such. But what happened is young people also who are from the city or coming to the city started talking about the concept of an urban tribe, where people are coming together and seeing themselves as one whole that are a mix of many different backgrounds and cultures and tribes and so on. So I think that's what the city can offer. It can offer kind of that place to come together and such. And so if we invest in that, invest in young people, invest in cities, I think we're well along the way. But we need governance structures that work, and then we need cities that work for the people, by the people. And that's where I think we as the UN come in and say, yes, on one hand, we need to make sure the streets are so big, and the buildings are so tall, and the parks are here and such. Those are all critical parts. But equally critically is the engagement of the people in designing those so that they feel the cities are there. So I think governance is it. I think we've all recognized it. If you have an ungoverned situation or poorly governed situation, you're much less likely of moving forward.